Oh ya teman-teman, jadi di sini udah hadir MC dan moderator untuk movie section. Jadi mungkin dari teman-teman logistik boleh untuk langsung share screen aja nggak guys? Sama putar lagunya mungkin. Thank you. Oh ya, aku juga minta tolong teman-teman untuk aku, terus habis itu nanti Irfan sama mungkin Olive. Aku minta tolong kalau Irfan nanti jadi Irfan dan BOD, kalau Irfan nanti jadi Irfan sama Kak Dion, terus habis itu untuk Olive nanti jadi Kavara atau Kavara sama Dekanat kayak gitu. Sebelumnya aku juga ingin menyapa teman-teman dan juga kakak-kakak MC dan moderator. Halo kakak-kakak dan MC untuk acara Legal Events. Selamat sore. Sebelumnya aku mau mengucapkan banyak terima kasih karena sudah menyempatkan waktu untuk hadir Gladi Resik hari ini. Jadi ini kita akan langsung mulai run through dari movie session. Nanti akan ada Queenie sebagai moderator dan juga Putri sebagai MC, dan juga untuk selanjutnya untuk legal English discussion akan ada moderator yaitu Kanadia dan juga MC-nya Putri juga, seperti itu. Mungkin tanpa berlama-lama lagi dari Cika boleh langsung share musiknya juga ya. Thank you.
Alright, for everyone, I'd like to remind that the event will be started in 5 minutes, so please wait and stay on the Zoom meeting. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Om Swastiastu. Namo Buddhaya. Greetings to all of us. Before I proceed, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Putri Fitriani, and I'll be your MC for today's movie session. The first and foremost, good afternoon to our honorable speaker for also Unplugged Volume 3 movie session, Kanadia Imani Witadea, and Mrs. Teresia Sriendras Iswarini. And then our moderator for today's discussion, Queenie Fionula Ister Sutanto, and all of our honorable participants of the movie session of Also Unplugged Volume 3. First and first, let's praise our thanks to God Almighty. Because of His grace, we are able together today to discuss Never Normalize Sexual Harassment. Let's fight it. Ladies and gentlemen, our series of today's events include the first one is the opening, which is currently ongoing. The second one is Singing Indonesia Raya and Elsa Anthem. The third one is the opening remarks by the project officer. The fourth one is the opening remarks by the director of Elsa Sugem. And then the discussion that will be led by two of our most outstanding speakers, followed by question and answer or Q&A session, which should be noted that participants who have joined via Zoom may ask questions through the chat box, and participants who have joined via YouTube may ask questions through the comment box. All right, the next one is the giving of black cards to speakers and moderator. And last but not least, jamming session by also singer and awarding session, which will be hosted by my college. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get into our next session, which is singing Indonesia Raya and Elsa Anthem. Alright, moving to the next agenda is the opening remarks of our Law Unplugged Volume 3 Project Officer. To Irfan Daniel Putra, the time is yours.
Oke, thank you MC. Tes. Suaraku masuk nggak?
Masuk.
Oke, masuk ya berarti ya? Halo?
Iya, masuk.
Oke, thank you. Semangat teman-teman untuk gladi bersihnya. Thank you juga untuk ada Queenie dan Kak Nadi Imani juga udah berkenan untuk hadir. Semangat teman-teman.
Alright, thank you for the opening remarks, Irfan. The next agenda is the opening remarks by the director of LSLC Game. Please welcome Kak Prasetyo Pramudiono. The time is yours.
MC mungkin ya segitu aja. Terus jangan lupa untuk teman-teman juga untuk pantauin terus di OBS-nya sama spotlight-nya juga teman-teman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the opening remarks, Kadion. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will now commence to the core of today's event. But before we begin, I'll introduce our moderator for today, Queenie Sultanto. She is a student at the Faculty of Law in UGM who has many prestigious experience, such as having achieved 9th Best Overall List, 3rd Best Overall Team, and 5th Best Combined Memorials for Asia Pacific Round on Philip C. Jessup International Law Moot Court Competition, having research surrounding the topics of Incoterms, letter of credit, also compensation on Asian Law Students Association's International Mediation Competition, and many more mesmerizing achievements. In addition, she has also participated in several committees that are no less prestigious, such as being the staff of Ministry of External Affairs and staff of English Division on LSLC Game. Therefore, without further ado, let's begin. Please welcome Queenie Sultanto. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Putri, for the chance, and also thank you everyone for. Bentar, maaf guys, aku bingung. Ini tuh transisi dari MC ke moderatornya. Aku memperkenalkan si speakersnya kan ya?
Aku izin masuk ya, Queenie. Iya, nanti setelah ini bakalan masuk ke sesi perkenalan speakersnya.
Oke. Jujur aku belum ngerangkum ini baca CV merekanya. Ini aku try ininya aja ya, kayak transisinya dulu aja, nggak apa-apa.
BTW kamu udah buka ini belum talking points yang aku kasih ke kamu?
Ini aku lagi buka sekarang.
Oke, nah ini kan setelah ini bakalan ada sesi movie session dulu. Jadi nanti kamu langsung pas bilang thank you for the opportunity lalala dari MC, kamu langsung sebelum memperkenalkan speaker, nanti nonton movie dulu gitu.
Oke. Jadi aku Jadi aku langsung bilang, before we welcome our very great speakers, let us first watch film itu ya, gitu ya Hel, kira-kira.
Yes, betul.
Okay, makasih Hel. Oke, sorry banget Putri, sorry banget teman-teman. Jadi, thank you very much Putri for the opportunity, and thank you very much for entrusting me with today's event to become the moderator. So perhaps just to get straight into today's event, before we welcome our very amazing speakers, let us first watch the movie titled Wait, which is produced by Rain. Gitu nggak? Aku.
Hello? No, just calling about
Okay, so everyone, we have just watched together the movie titled Wait, which is produced by Rain. And personally, I feel like this movie has a very deep impact and meaning, especially towards or pertaining to victims of sexual violence, abuse, or even harassment. And perhaps that is enough from me, and maybe I can ask the participants on what do you guys think about the movie. Is there anything anyone would like to share? Okay. Oke, berarti ini aku langsung masuk ke pengenalan CV ya, Hel?
Iya, betul.
Okay. Okay, thank you everyone for your opinions and for your enthusiasm. I would just now like to introduce our speakers. The first is Ibu Teresia Sri Endras Iswarini. So, Ibu Teresia is the commissioner for Komnas Perempuan from 2020 until 2024, and she's also a consultant for gender equality. She's also a part of High Voice of Southeast Asian in April 2012 until February 2017 as the program manager for the welfare of women. And she also has several research experience as a staff of writer for multi-stakeholder forestry program, as well as the ASPDAE Kapal Perempuan in 2011. And our next speaker is also very, very great. Her name is Kanadia Imani Witadea. She has several experiences as well for organizational experience. She's currently the coordinator of alumni relations of ALCLC UGM. She is also the co-founder and vice director of Hope Helps in local chapter UGM. And her professional experience encompasses law and court monitoring intern in Indonesia Corruption Watch, or ICW, and she's responsible for data research and court analyzing. As for her achievements, she won first place debate competition in Debat Hukum Nasional Diponegoro Law Fair, held by Universitas Diponegoro, and she is also the best delegate for African Union Council, ALSA IFAS Model United Nations. So that is for the introduction. Maybe now I can just welcome the speakers. Hello, Kak Nadia Imani, and hello, Ibu Teresia. How are you in this evening?
Okay, hello, moderator.
Okay, how are you, Ibu Teresia, during this evening?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, it's nice to know that all of you are doing well amidst this pandemic, and I do hope all of you will stay safe and healthy during these uncertain times. So, just before we get to the gist of the event today, perhaps I would just like to ask Ibu Teresia and Kak Nadia about what is your opinion aku nge-lag, maaf guys. What is your opinion on the movie that we have just watched?
Oke, jadi mungkin kalau dari speaker 1 begini. Mau kembalikan kepada moderator.
Oke. Sorry guys, ini aku udah nge-lag parah. Maaf banget. Bentar ya guys. Aku nge-lag nggak ya, Olive? Sorry banget.
Enggak sih, Queen, tapi tadi sempat kayak hilang akhir sentence-nya kamu gitu. Jadi kayak cuma sampai setengah.
Oke. Sorry, Liv. Ini kayak internet aku lagi nggak bener, bingung. Okay, so then in that case, I would just like to ask Ibu Teresia first. Ibu, can you just provide us with a little introduction? Just what is sexual violence And what are the types? Because I think a lot of us here doesn't really know about sexual violence or what it entails.
Oke, jadi mungkin sexual violence itu begini, dan aku kembalikan kepada moderator.
Mhm. And maybe just to ping pong this to Kanadia, why do you think these cases of abuse and sexual violence still happens in our society or where we are or around us?
Oke, halo Queenie. Jadi menurut aku begini, bla bla bla, seperti itu.
Okay. Hel, ini mau sampai habis kan ya Hel di rundown-nya, di run-through-nya?
Iya, boleh.
Okay. So maybe just back to Ibu Teresia. So what are the conditions of our current law enforcement in dealing with cases of sexual violence in Indonesia or even in the world? Because I think that we can argue that these enforcement are not maximized. That's why these cases are still happening. Though, what do you think, Ibu Teresia, about this case?
Oke, mungkin kalau menurut saya penegak hukum di Indonesia masa sekarang itu masih begini terkait hal ini. Jadi ya begini dan sangat begini. Oke, aku kembalikan kepada moderator.
Mm-hmm. So, Ibu, in your experiences, and I saw you were part of the Komnas Perempuan, Ibu. Perhaps working in this field, what are the forms of protection that has been given to victims of sexual violence?
Oke, jadi mungkin untuk para korban, institusi kami itu seringnya melakukan hal ini, dan hal seperti ini, dan hal-hal lain juga. Aku kembali.
So, Kanadia, there's like a lot of cases where there are victim blaming and in the victims of sexual violence or sexual harassment. So what do you think is the negative impact of this stigmatization? Like, is this something that we should normalize, seeing that these victims couldn't know better?
Oke, jadi menurut saya dampaknya tentu sangat bla 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 bla, dan kita kedepannya harus lebih begitu.
Okay, Ka, I note that. So talking about preventive measures, how important or how significant do you think is the role of gender equality in order to further mitigate these so-called sexual violence or harassment or abuse?
Tentu penting sekali untuk meningkatkan awareness atau kesadaran dari siapapun terkait hal tersebut agar kedepannya tidak semakin begini.
So, talking about significance, Ibu Teresia, I would now like just to dig a little bit more on how important it is to open access towards the literacy of law or knowledge of the law towards the citizens, especially pertaining to cases of sexual violence, which sadly most people are not really aware of.
Oke, jadi mungkin hal yang dapat kita lakukan biar meningkatkan kayak knowledge orang-orang mungkin bisa dengan hal ini, dan hal ini juga, dan hal yang begini yang dapat meningkatkan kesadaran orang-orang.
And then Kanadia, in that regard, this question actually corresponds to Ibu Teresia's point. And is there any particular way that how we can possibly build or create a safe space for victims around us? So maybe starting from the scope of familial environment, friendship, campus life, or even the people.
Ya benar sekali Queenie, tentu saja semua langkah-langkah itu harus dimulai dari hal-hal kecil dan juga tadi yang udah diutarakan sama speaker pertama, dan menurut saya jadi kedepannya harus lebih bisa begini.
Okay, thank you very much, Kanadio, for your very insightful opinion and elaboration. Maybe just one last question to Ibu Teresia, and then later on I'll close by asking Kanadio the same question. So, what must we improve especially in law enforcement aspect or other aspects, in order to prevent the increase of sexual violence cases around us?
Oke, mungkin yang bisa kita improve dalam hal ini adalah dengan begini, dengan begini juga, dan hal yang seperti itu. Aku kembalikan ya pada moderator.
Okay, just one last question, maybe, seeing that our time is running out. Maybe I would just like to ask Kanadia for on the closing. What steps must we take as citizens, as the people of the country, especially younger generations, in order to prevent these sexual violence or abuse from happening?
Oke, tentunya banyak sekali cara yang bisa diambil generasi muda untuk menangani kasus ini, sehingga kita bisa melakukannya dengan begini-begini dan bla 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 bla.
I think that is all from now. I think probably thank you very much, Kak Nadia and Ibu Teresia for the very elaborate answers and for providing us knowledge in regards to the topic surrounding sexual violence and the awareness that entails. So I think all of the participants can no longer wait, and they really wish to ask the speaker's questions. So maybe I would just let the participants know to type in the word permission if you want to ask a question to Ibu Teresia or Kanadia.
Ini di skip aja.
Okay, skip ya. Okay, maybe for conclusion, I think we can all put an emphasis on blah, 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 blah. And that is all from me. Thank you very much, everyone. It has been pleasant to moderate today's session. And I do apologize in instances where there's a certain aspect that is lacking. And thank you very much, everyone.
All right, thank you so much, Queenie, who has led our discussion today, which is so interesting and attractively. And of course, we'd like to say thank you to our outstanding speakers, Kanadia Imani and Mrs. Teresia Triandras Iswarini. Thank you to the speakers and participants for the comprehensive and informative discussion for today. As a token of our appreciation, we'd like to symbolically hand over placards and certificates to our moderator and speaker, which will be given by the director of LCLC Kak Prasetyo Pramudiono. Therefore, I'd like to remind all of the speakers to keep the camera on for the documentation. All right, for the first certificate and placard, we'd like to give to Mrs. Teresia Iswarini. To Mrs. Teresia Iswarini and Kak Dion, I'd like to invite you. All right, because the committee will take a picture. To Kak Dion, the time is yours.
Baik. Terima kasih Bu Teresia atas waktunya. Mungkin itu dulu.
Okay, thank you atas kesempatannya.
Now the committee will take a picture to PDD committee. The time is yours.
Okay, I will count down from 3, 2, 1.
Thank you to Mrs. Teresia and Kak Dion. All right, next we would like to give a placard and certificate to Kanadia Imani Witadia. To Kanadia Imani and Kak Jeremy Guntur as Vice Director of Academic Development, I'd like to invite you to reactivate your cameras. All right, to Kak Jeremy Guntur, the time is yours.
Thank you, Kanadia, atas waktunya.
Thank you, teman-teman.
All right, now the committee will take a picture for PDD committee. The time is yours.
Thank you, MC. I will count down from 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kanadia and Kajargun. All right, last but not least, would like to give a certificate to our moderator for today, Queenie Sutanto. To Queenie and Kavazara Atifa, as the manager of English development, I'd like to invite you to activate your cameras. All right. Now the committee will take a picture, but before that, to Kavara, the time is yours.
Thank you MC, thank you Queenie untuk karena udah bersedia jadi moderator. Saya kembalikan ke MC.
All right, thank you. Now the committee will take a picture for PDD committee. The time is yours.
Okay, I will count down from 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Queenie and Kavara. Our next session is documentation. To all of the committee, moderator, and speaker, would like to invite you to turn on your cameras. We'll wait for 2 minutes. All right, now the committee will take a picture. To PDD committee, the time is yours.
Okay, I will start from slide 1. I will count down from 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
All right. Well, then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry to say this, but we have now arrived at the end of this session. Thank you to all of the participants who have joined in our discussion for today. On the next agenda, it will be hosted by me again. So see you at Legal English Discussion Law Unplugged Volume 3 on the next day. Once again, thank you for your participation and enthusiasm. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you on the next day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om. Namo Buddhaya. To inspire and to aspire. Alsa, always be one.
Oke guys, sekarang mungkin ini aku masukannya aku sekalian sama LED aja kali ya. Karena Putri nanti cuma bisa sampai 17.15. Jadi nanti ini sekarang kita langsung LED aja ya teman-teman. Thank you. Yes.
Halo.
Iya gimana?
Izin masuk bentar, itu yang ngasih untuk ke Queenie-nya tadi itu Kak Farah atau aku ya? Kemarin Kak Farah yang aku kabarin di grup kemarin Kak Farah ya berarti?
Iya.
Oh, oke. Oke, thank you.
Oke, ini langsung LED aja ya teman-teman.
For everyone, I'd like to remind you that the event will be started in 5 minutes, so please wait and stay on the Zoom meeting. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Om Swastiastu. Namo Buddhaya. Greetings to all of us. Before I proceed, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Putri Fitriani, and I'll be your MC for today's legal English discussion. First and foremost, good afternoon to our honorable speaker for Also Unplugged Volume 3 Legal English Discussion, Mrs. Sabti Juwita Agustin BR Tobing SIPMA, and Mrs. Riwianti Ediono SHLLM HR PhD. And then our moderator for today's discussion, Kanadia Imani Witadea, and all of our honorable participants of the legal English discussion of Also Unplugged Volume 3. First, let's praise our thanks to God Almighty. Because of His grace, we are able together today to discuss youth crime problem, how to solve. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our series of today's events include the first one is the opening, which is currently ongoing. The second one is singing Indonesia Raya and Alsa Anthem. The third one is the opening remarks by the project officer. The fourth one is the opening remarks by the director of Alsa Game. And then the opening remarks by the head of undergraduate study program of Law Game, Mr. Dr. Wahyu Yun Santoso LSA LLM. And the next one is the discussion, which will be led by two of our most outstanding speakers for today, which is followed by question and answer or Q&A session, which should be noted that participants have joined via Zoom may ask questions through the chat box, and participants have joined via YouTube may ask questions through the comment box. After that, after the Q&A first session, there will be jamming session by Elsa Singer. And last but not least, the giving of placards to speaker and moderator. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving to the next sessions, there will be singing Indonesia Raya and Alsa Anthem.
Amen.
All right, let's get into the next agenda, which is the opening remarks of our long-plucked voluntary project officer to Irfan Daniel Putra. The time is yours.
Halo, terima kasih teman-teman atas waktunya. Oke, mungkin sekian dulu. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the opening remarks, Irfan. The next one is the opening remarks by the director of Alsal Sugem to Kak Prasetyo Pramudiono. The time is yours.
Oke, semangat teman-teman.
All right, thank you for the opening remarks, Kadion. The next one is the opening remarks by the head of undergraduate study program of Laugem to Mr. Dr. Wahyu Yun Santoso. The time is yours.
Halo, terima kasih banyak untuk kesempatannya MC dan semoga semuanya acara berjalan dengan lancar. Terima kasih dan selamat siang. Saya kembalikan pada MC.
All right, thank you for the opening remarks to Mr. Wahyu Santoso. All right, we'll now commence to the core of today's event. But before we begin, I'll introduce our moderator for today, Kanadia Imani Witadea. Kanadia is a student at the Faculty of Law in UGM who has many prestigious achievements, such as having reached awardee of the most outstanding student at Faculty of Law UGM 2019 and 2020, the best delegate of African Union Council, also IFEST Model United Nations 2020, the first place of National Law Debate Competition on the first winner of National Law Debate Competition on Diponegoro Law Fair 2020, and many more mesmerizing achievements. In addition, she has also participated in several committees that are no less prestigious, such as being the coordinator of alumni relations on Alsal UGM and co-founder and vice director on Hope House local chapter UGM. Therefore, without further ado, let's begin. Please welcome Kanadia Imani Witadea. The time is yours.
Thank you, Putri, for such a warm greeting. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, everyone. Greetings to our honorable speaker for ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3 Legal English Discussion, Mrs. Sapti Juwita Augustin BR Tobing SIPMA, and Mrs. Riwiyanti Adiono SLM HR PhD, and all of our honorable participants of the legal discussion of ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Nadia Imani, the moderator of today's legal discussion. I'm very pleased to see you here and welcome all of you to this session. Today's discussion is about the youth crime problem, how to solve. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's session, we will be having two amazing speakers. Our first speaker today is Mrs. Sapti Juwita Agustin Borutobing, SIPMA. Hi, Mrs. Sapti, how are you? Glad to hear from you. Everyone, this is Mrs. Sapti, our first speaker for today. To know more about her background, let me give you guys a brief introduction. Her conference experience are blah, 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 and her great achievements are blah, 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 and you can also read her research and publication, which is blah, 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 blah. Before the presentation begins, let me inform you how the presentation will be going on. First, the speaker will be invited to present the material. After that, there will be a question and answer session and followed by conclusion. For addition, there will be general question and answer session after the second speaker. Now, Now, allow me to welcome the speaker to deliver her presentation. Mrs. Sapti Juwita, the floor is yours.
Baik, terima kasih moderator. Jadi begini presentasinya dan begini. Saya kembalikan kepada moderator.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Sapti, for giving us such an informative and interesting point of view. Ladies and gentlemen, the question and answer session has started. I would like to have the first three questions from the participants, and then Mrs. Sapti will answer those questions first. You can text down your question in the chat box or simply text permission, and then I will let you open your microphone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I already had three questions here, blah, 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 blah. Well done, Mrs. Sapti, great answers. Unfortunately, this quick Q&A session has ended, but worry not. If you guys still have plenty of questions, you can ask her in the general session after the second speaker. Moving on to the next session, we will have a break for around 5 minutes. I give the time back to Putri as the master of ceremony.
All right. Thank you so much, Kanadia, for the fascinating and interesting discussion for today. But before we continue, let's get into an charming session by Elsa Singer. Please welcome. Blah 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 blah. By the way, panitia ini belum ada namanya. Elsa Singer.
Hai Putri, iya nih belum ada, tapi nanti aku follow up lagi ya ke Kak Faiko. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Elena.
Yuk, boleh lanjut. Balikin lagi ke Kak Nadia.
All right, what a beautiful voice. Thank you to Elsa Singer for the mesmerizing performance. Let's get right back in sharing session with Kanadia. To Kanadia, the time is yours.
Hello everyone, it's me again. Welcome back to the legal discussion. How was the entertainment? Fun, isn't it? I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do and will remain focused and fresh in the next second session. At this pleasant moment, our second speaker will be Mrs. Riwiyanti Ediono, SLLM HR PhD, also known as Mrs. E. How are you, Mrs. E? Glad to hear from you. Alhamdulillah. To know more about our speakers today, she is blah 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 blah, and you can also read her publication and blah 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 blah. Now allow me to welcome the speaker, the great Mrs. E. The floor is yours.
Halo, thank you moderator for the time. Jadi pemaparan materinya adalah begini, blah 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 blah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. E, for giving us such an interesting new perspective. I'm sure the audience is as mesmerized as I am. Moving on to the next session, which is question and answer session. You can text down your question in the chat box or simply text permission, and then I will let you open your microphone. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I already had a bunch of questions here. The first one is blah 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 blah. The next, Next to general. Okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. E, for the great answers. The next is the general Q&A session, and I would like to invite Mrs. Sapti to join the session. For those who are still having a question for both Mrs. Sapti or Mrs. E, now is your time to ask. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end of this discussion. Before I close this discussion, I would like to take a conclusion from what the speaker has presented. I think we can all agree that blah, 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 blah. Once again, I would like to thank our speaker for your insightful presentation. And also, I would like to thank all of the audience for your enthusiasm. My sincere apology if there are any mistakes that I made throughout the session. Hopefully, the information that we have shared today in this session will be useful for all of us. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om, Namo Buddhaya. I yield my time back to Putri as the master of ceremony.
All right. Well, we'd like to appreciate and thank you, and to say thank you to Kanadia, who has led our discussion for today. And of course, we'd like to say thank you very much and appreciate it to our most outstanding speakers for today, Mrs. Sapti Juwita Augustin BR Tobing, SCPMA, and Mrs. Riwiyanti Ediono, SLLM HR PhD. Thank you to the speakers and participants for the comprehensive and informative discussion for today. And then, as a token of our appreciation, we'd like to symbolically hand over placards and certificate to our moderator and speaker, which will be given by the director of LSLC UGM, Prasetyo Pramudiono. Therefore, I'd like to remind to all of the speakers to keep the camera on for the documentation. All right, for the first certificate and placard, we'd like to give to Mrs. Sapti Juwita Augustin BR Tobing SIPMA. All right, to Mrs. Sapti Juwita Augustin BR Tobing and Kak Dion, as the director of LSLC UGM, I would like to invite you to reactivate your cameras. Okay, thank you. Because the committee will take a picture, but before that, to Kak Dion, the time is yours.
Oke, thank you Putri. Terima kasih Bu Sapti Juwita. Ini ada sertifikat dari kami. Thank you Bu.
Baik, terima kasih atas kesempatannya.
All right. Now the committee will take a picture. To PDD committee, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Putri. I will count down from 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sapti and Kadion. The next one would like to give a placard and certificate to Mrs. Sriwiyanti Adiono SL, MHR PhD, to Mrs. Sriwiyanti Adiono and Kak Jeremy Guntur as Vice Director of Academic Development. I'd like to invite you to reactivate your cameras.
Oke.
All right. To Kak Jeremy Guntur, the time is yours.
Oke, terima kasih Bu Sriwiyanti Diono.
Terima kasih, teman-teman.
All right, now the committee will now take a picture. To PDD committee, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Putri. I will count down from 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sri and Kak Jeremy Guntur. All right, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, would like to give a certificate to our moderator for today, Kanadia Imani Wutadia. To Kanadia and Kafazara Tifa as the Manager of English Development, I'd like to invite you to activate your cameras.
Baik, terima kasih kepada Kanadia karena telah bersedia menjadi moderator. Saya kembalikan kepada MC.
All right, now the committee will take a picture. To PDD committee, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Putri. I will count down from 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kanadia and Kafara. Our next session is a documentation. To all the committee, moderator, and speaker, would like to invite you to turn on your cameras. All right. Now the committee will take a picture. To PDD committee, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Putri. I will start from slide 1. I will count down from 3, 2, 1. And slide 2, I will count down from 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
All right, well then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry, but I have to say this. We have now arrived at the end of this session for today. Thank you to all of the participants who have joined in our discussion today. But before that, I'd like to remind the participants to fill the attendance form, which will be distributed by the committee in a moment. Once again, thank you very much for your participation and enthusiasm. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you at Unplugged Volume 4. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Om Santi, 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 Om. Namo Buddhaya. To inspire and to aspire. Elsa, always be one.
Makasih semuanya. Oke, kalau menurut aku izin masuk dulu ya teman-teman sebentar. Kalau menurut aku mau bilang terima kasih banyak ke Queenie, Kak Nadia, sama Putri hari ini udah bisa hadir dan juga kita latihannya lancar banget, benar-benar lancar banget, pokoknya udah keren. Terus juga untuk teman-teman legal events yang kayak kasih reminder gitu-gitu juga teman-teman udah mulai lancar dan udah mulai tahu setiap sesinya tuh harus kayak gimana. Kalau dari aku coba pengen apresiasi doang dan gak ada masukan sejauh ini udah keren semuanya. Tapi aku mungkin mau sedikit reminder ke Queenie. Jadi nanti pas bagian movie session kan kayak memperkenalkan kayak Wait by Rain gitu kan. Nah nanti tuh Rain itu ada keterangan gitu kayak pokoknya udah aku tulis di talking points moderator. Nah itu nanti jangan lupa untuk Queenie untuk disebut karena mereka pesen kayak gitu ke kita. Itu aja sih kalau dari aku. Semuanya udah keren, spotlightnya juga menurut aku udah cepet kok gitu. Udah, mungkin ada yang mau masuk dari Irfan atau Olive mungkin, atau ada Kak Pandu juga di sini. Iya, boleh.